My wife commented on a Reddit post, "Rate your husband 1 to 10. She wrote, "Honest rating? 0 out of 10. Boring job. No ambition. Mediocre in bed." I saw it on her phone by accident. I said nothing. Then I quietly moved $200,000 from our joint investment account, filed for divorce, and let her find out. Original post. I, 37 male, had been with Harper, 35, for 11 years. We'd been married for 7 of those years, and I thought we had something real. We lived in a 3-bedroom house in Seattle's Ballard neighborhood, had a golden retriever named Scout, and what I believed was a partnership built on mutual respect. I worked as a data analyst for a healthcare company, not glamorous but stable and well-paying. Harper was a real estate agent who did reasonably well, though her income fluctuated with the market. I'd always considered myself a decent husband. I handled most of the cooking, split household chores evenly, remembered anniversaries and birthdays, and made sure we had regular date nights. We weren't passionate newlyweds anymore, but I thought we were solid, comfortable, content. That illusion shattered on a random Tuesday evening 3 months ago. Harper had left her phone on the kitchen counter while she was in the shower. I wasn't snooping, I genuinely wasn't. My phone was dead and charging upstairs, and I needed to check the time for a work call I had scheduled. I picked up her phone, and the screen lit up with a notification from Reddit. The preview showed part of a comment she'd written. Honest rating? 0 out of 10. Boring job. No ambition. Mediocre in. My heart stopped. I knew I shouldn't look, but my fingers moved before my brain could catch up. I opened her phone. No passcode between us. Another sign of the trust I thought we had, and navigated to the Reddit app. The post was in a relationship subreddit. Ladies, rate your husband/boyfriend on a scale of 1 to 10 and explain why. I scrolled through dozens of comments. Most women were rating their partners 7s and 8s, listing sweet reasons. Great father, makes me laugh, always supports my dreams. Then I found Harper's comment, posted under the username Seattle Realtor 2024. Honest rating? 0 out of 10, boring job, no ambition, mediocre in bed. He's a data analyst who comes home, watches TV, and thinks a nice dinner is exciting. We haven't had real passion in years. He's basically a roommate who pays half the bills. I feel like I'm wasting my prime years with someone who's already settled into middle age at 37. I read it 3 times, each word hitting like a physical blow. The phone trembled in my hand. But what made it worse were the responses to her comment. Other Redditors had chimed in. Girl, why are you still with him? Life's too short to be with a 0/10. You deserve better. Have you thought about what you really want? Because it sounds like you've already checked out. And Harper's response, you're right. I think I've known for a while that I need to make a change. Just scared to pull the trigger. You know? I heard the shower turn off upstairs. My hands were shaking as I carefully placed her phone back exactly where it had been. Screen dark. I walked out to the back porch, where Scout followed me, sensing something was wrong. My mind raced. Part of me wanted to confront her immediately, to demand an explanation. But another part, the analytical part that made me good at my job, told me to stay calm, to think strategically. When Harper came downstairs 20 minutes later, hair wet and wearing her bathrobe, I was sitting on the couch with my laptop, appearing to work. Hey babe, she said casually, kissing the top of my head. What do you want for dinner? I wanted to scream. Instead, I smiled. Whatever you're in the mood for. She ordered Thai food, and we ate together while watching a Netflix show, just like we had 1,000 times before. She laughed at the funny parts, complained about a difficult client, asked about my day. Everything was normal on the surface, but I couldn't stop seeing those words. 0 out of 10, mediocre in bed, wasting my prime years. That night, lying in bed next to her, I made a decision. I wouldn't confront her. I wouldn't give her the satisfaction of a big dramatic fight where she could paint herself as the victim of my insecurity or controlling behavior. Instead, I would protect myself quietly and efficiently. The next morning, after Harper left for a property showing, I started planning. First, I took inventory of our finances. We had a joint checking account for household expenses, but most of our serious money was in a joint investment account, stocks, index funds, and bonds totaling about $285,000. I contributed roughly $200,000 of that over the years through consistent saving and a few smart investments I'd made before we got married. Harper had contributed the rest through irregular deposits when she had good commission months. I called our financial advisor, Greg, someone I'd worked with for years before I even met Harper. "Greg, I need to move some assets around," I said carefully. "Specifically, I want to liquidate my contributions from the joint investment account and move them into an individual account." There was a pause. "Mike, is everything okay? That's a pretty significant move." "Everything's fine. I just want to reorganize some things for tax purposes." Greg knew better than to push. "All right, I'll need both signatures for joint account withdrawals, though." "Actually," I said, pulling up our investment agreement on my computer. "Check the original documents we signed. I believe there's a clause about proportional withdrawals based on contribution amounts." Greg was quiet while he looked it up. "You're right. Since you can document that you contributed approximately 70% of the account value, you can withdraw up to that amount without dual authorization. It's unusual, but it's in the agreement you both signed." "Perfect. Let's do it." Within 3 business days, $200,000 was sitting in a new individual investment account under only my name. I left the remaining $85,000 in the joint account. I wasn't trying to steal from her, just protect what was mine. Next, I contacted an attorney. Her name was Sharon Whitfield, and she came highly recommended by a colleague who'd gone through a divorce the previous year. "I need to file for divorce," I told her during our first consultation. "But I want to do it strategically." Sharon was in her 50s, sharp-eyed and no nonsense. "Tell me everything." I explained the Reddit comment, the responses, Harper's clear intention to leave. I showed Sharon screenshots I'd taken of the entire thread before Harper could delete it. "This is actually helpful," Sharon said, reviewing the screenshots. "It establishes that she was already contemplating ending the marriage and shows her state of mind. In Washington, we're a no-fault divorce state, but this could influence things like spousal support if she tries to claim she's entitled to alimony." "She makes decent money as a realtor," I said. "Some years better than me." "Good. And you said you moved your investment contributions to a separate account." $200,000. I contributed it before and during the marriage, and our investment agreement allows for proportional withdrawals. Sharon nodded approvingly. "Smart. That protects your premarital and separately contributed assets." Now let's talk about the house. The house was more complicated. We'd bought it together 6 years ago, and we'd both contributed to the down payment and mortgage payments, though I'd paid slightly more over the years. Sharon advised that we'd likely have to sell it and split the proceeds, or one of us would need to buy out the other. "I want to move quickly on this," I said. "File the papers, serve her, and let her know I'm serious. I can have everything ready to file by next week." "How do you want to handle serving her?" "At home. I want to be there when she gets the papers." Sharon raised an eyebrow. "That's bold. Most people prefer to avoid that confrontation." "I've been avoiding confrontation with her for 11 years. I think it's time I stopped." Over the next week, I continued acting completely normal around Harper. We had our usual routines: morning coffee together, texts during the day about mundane things, dinners where we discussed our work. She had no idea that I'd seen her Reddit comment or that I'd already moved our money and filed for divorce. I did notice, though, that she seemed to be on her phone more than usual. Sometimes she'd smile at something on the screen, then quickly put it away when she noticed me looking. A few times, she claimed she was meeting a client, but came home smelling like wine and wearing fresh lipstick. The old me, the Mike from 2 weeks ago, would have felt devastated by this. The new me just felt cold determination. The divorce papers were served on a Thursday evening. I'd arranged for a process server to arrive at 7 p.m., right after Harper got home from work. I made sure I was there, sitting in the living room when the doorbell rang. "I'll get it," Harper called out, walking to the door in her work clothes. A tailored blazer and pencil skirt that she'd always said made her feel powerful. She opened the door to find a middle-aged woman with a clipboard. Harper Mitchell? Yes. You've been served. The woman handed her a manila envelope and walked away. Harper stood in the doorway, confused, staring at the envelope. Then she looked at me. I was sitting calmly on the couch, Scout's head in my lap. Mike? What is this? Open it. Her hands shook as she tore open the envelope and pulled out the divorce petition. I watched her face go through a series of changes. Confusion, shock, disbelief, and finally, anger. What the hell is this? Are you divorcing me? Yes. Why? When did you? She was struggling to form complete sentences. About 2 weeks ago. Right around the time I saw your Reddit comment. The color drained from her face. My what? Your comment. The one where you rated me 0 out of 10. Called me boring, unambitious, mediocre in bed. Said you were wasting your prime years with me. She stood frozen, the papers dangling from her hand. Mike, that was just venting. I didn't mean. Yes, you did. You meant every word. And you know what? That's fine. You're entitled to your feelings. But I'm also entitled to protect myself from someone who thinks so little of me. You can't just divorce me over a Reddit comment. Actually, I can. This is a no-fault state. I don't need a reason. But if you want reasons, I have plenty. The comment. Your responses to other people encouraging you to leave. The fact that you've clearly been checking out of this marriage while pretending everything was fine. Harper's shock was giving way to anger. You went through my phone? That's a violation of privacy. Your phone was unlocked on the counter. A notification popped up. I didn't hack into anything. And what about our investment account? She said, her voice rising. I checked it yesterday, and there's only $85,000 left. Where's the rest? I withdrew my contributions. It's in a separate account now. You can't do that. I already did. Check the investment agreement we signed. There's a clause about proportional withdrawals. Everything I did was legal. She stared at me like she was seeing a stranger. I don't even know who you are right now. Funny, I said. I was thinking the same thing about you when I read that you've been planning to leave me, but were just scared to pull the trigger. Harper's eyes filled with tears, but I couldn't tell if they were genuine or strategic. Mike, please, can we talk about this? That comment was just me being frustrated. Every marriage goes through rough patches. This isn't a rough patch, Harper. This is you fundamentally not respecting me or our marriage. And I'm done. So that's it? 11 years. And you're just throwing it away over one stupid comment. No, I'm ending it because you already threw it away. I'm just making it official. She tried a different approach, softening her voice. What if we try counseling? We could work on things. I'll delete Reddit. I'll be more present, whatever you want. I don't want anything from you except a clean divorce. The next few weeks were predictably ugly. Harper hired her own attorney and tried to fight the asset division, claiming she was entitled to half of everything, including the $200,000 I'd moved. Her lawyer argued that it was marital property regardless of who contributed what. Sharon was ready for this. She presented evidence of my contributions, the signed investment agreement, and the fact that I'd withdrawn only what I'd put in. The judge sided with me, ruling that I'd acted within my legal rights. Harper also tried to claim she deserved spousal support because her real estate income was unstable. Sharon countered with tax returns showing that Harper had actually out-earned me in 2 of the past 5 years, and that her income was only unstable because she chose a commission-based career. Again, the judge sided with me. No spousal support. The house was the last major issue. Neither of us could afford to buy out the other's equity, so we agreed to sell. The market was strong and we got a good price. After paying off the mortgage and splitting the proceeds, we each walked away with about $95,000. Throughout the entire process, Harper tried multiple tactics to win me back or at least maintain some kind of relationship. She sent long text messages apologizing and explaining that she'd been going through something and had taken it out on me unfairly. She showed up at my new apartment, a modest 1-bedroom in Fremont, crying and asking for another chance. She even contacted my parents, telling them I was making a huge mistake. My parents called me, concerned. Mike, Harper came by. She seems really upset. Are you sure about this? I'm sure, Mom. But 11 years. That's a lot to throw away. I explained what had happened, not in detail, but enough for them to understand. My mother went quiet for a moment, then said, "Oh, sweetheart, I'm so sorry. You deserve better than that." The divorce was finalized 4 months after I'd served Harper the papers. The judge signed the decree, and just like that, we were done. A few weeks after the divorce became final, I ran into one of Harper's friends, Chelsea, at a coffee shop in Ballard. "Mike, hey." She seemed genuinely surprised to see me.
Hey, Chelsea.
I heard about everything. I'm really sorry. Thanks. She hesitated, then said, "For what it's worth, I think Harper really regrets what happened. She's been pretty torn up about it. I appreciate you telling me, but it doesn't change anything."
Chelsea nodded.
"I get it. And honestly, between you and me, I think you made the right call. Harper was always complaining about something. Nothing was ever good enough. I love her, but she needs to figure out what she actually wants in life before she drags someone else through it." That conversation stuck with me. It confirmed what I'd suspected. I was never the problem. Harper was chasing some fantasy version of life that didn't exist, and I'd been collateral damage in her quarter-life crisis. 6 months after the divorce, I'm doing well. I'm still a data analyst at the same company, the boring job that Harper mocked, but I got a promotion and a significant raise. I'm dating someone new, a librarian named Amy who thinks my job is interesting and who appreciates stability. We take things slow, and there's no pressure to be anything other than ourselves. I still have Scout, who's happier in the new apartment than I expected. I've taken up running, lost 15 pounds, and generally feel better than I have in years. I heard through mutual acquaintances that Harper is dating someone new, a younger guy who works in tech and drives a Tesla. Good for her. I hope she finds whatever it is she's looking for. As for me, I learned an important lesson. Sometimes the trash takes itself out. You just have to be smart enough to let it go. And I learned something else too, that boring guy with no ambition had more spine than anyone, including Harper, ever gave him credit for.